I'm Claire Billingsley, host of Coffee with Claire. Today we are going to meet David Barnes, the co-founder of Peace of Mind Overtures and author of a couple of books, Taming Your Dragons and It's Just Commerce. These books and his work utilizes the alignment process, which incorporates watching popular movies to help people discover their full potential. If you've ever felt stuck and wanted to make a dynamic shift in your life, this will be a show you don't want to miss. Welcome back. I'd like to introduce you to David Barnes. He's co-founded a fascinating business, co-written 2 amazing books, and has developed a truly unique way to help you make dynamic shifts in your personal and professional life. So welcome, David.
Thank you, Claire. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you here with Coffee with Claire. So, David, one of the things that we talked about before you came on the air is that so many people talk about being burned out. Yeah. And that's really not just an American theme. It's people all over the world. And I know that you've had some personal experience with burnout. Mm-hmm. So can you share with our audience what happened to you and how you found a way to balance through watching movies?
Okay, thank you. Well, first of all, you're right. The burnout is becoming a major problem here in the United States. And I think I saw a statistic one time that said it's $190 billion a year in healthcare costs just due to burnout alone.
Wow.
But it's not just healthcare costs that's affecting. It's affecting morale in businesses, productivity, turnover, and stress in people's lives and in their homes. And so very much for me, that was my experience. I've been significantly burned out 3 times in my life. And the first time I was with the Ford Motor Company for about 11 years.
Okay.
And we moved around 3 times out of 5 years towards the end. And
3 times in 5 years?
Yes, and
wow.
I had little babies, and they were good to me. But I didn't realize at the time that my tendency to push was a core pattern, a core issue for me. And so I left the Ford Motor Company and took a job as an executive at the Dallas Symphony as vice president of marketing and communications.
Okay.
And I thought, going to the symphony, it would be an opportunity to find more balance. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Naive. And it was actually worse. And so this time, the burnout took me to a place where I was sleeping only about 3 hours a night, and I was fried. And it was then that my wife, Laura, introduced me to Sue Ann McGregor, my co-author and current business partner. Mm-hmm. And, when you're really stressed out and somebody says, try this piece of bark, you'll try it. I know. I mean, you'll try anything, and I did. And so here Laura introduces me to this little Aussie who I loved her accent, and we're doing this resonance repatterning things where she's energizing beliefs that you want in your life and de-energizing the things that are getting in the way of stress and pushing it too hard, beliefs about communication and people and work. And it wasn't too long that Sue Ann started to say, hey, I want to write this book with you, Taming Your Dragons, Making Peace with Your Emotions. And so I thought, hey, how hard could this be? I mean, 6 months, write a book? It couldn't.
Sure.
Well, that's when we discovered that we could become proxies for anyone that wanted to get the change work we were doing by watching the movies we were using to really help us with our own awareness and help us balance our emotions. So we embarked on this journey. It took us 4 years to write this book, Taming Your Dragons, 6 days a week. We pushed it really hard.
Wow.
We both have the same kind of tendency.
Uh-oh.
And but I learned so much about my emotions and how to work with them and work with her. Mm-hmm. And it was a great opportunity. So it put me on this path. And when we started to realize that patterns are passed down generation to generation and they can be changed, then we started to look at, when any time something new is created, a business, a partnership, a marriage, whatever emotional patterns that are occurring in that entity at the time will continue to replicate until you recognize what's going on or have awareness and change them. Mm-hmm. And so when we saw that, we thought, well, what if we looked at the patterns going on in the United States with business, politics, power, money, force, and we did this change work? Would it affect the overall outlook on how we saw business, and could that impact the human grid, if you will, or the interconnectivity that we all are a part of? And that's when we came to It's Just Commerce, Returning Balance to Business. And we have 70 movies in the first book on emotions and 75 on business. And It's so interesting. We wrote this book on business balance in 2011 and looked at a lot of the patterns that were going on at the beginning of the United States. And today, we are starting to see them get bigger and become more contrast for us so that we can all start to choose differently. And we didn't know that was going to be happening in the government and the businesses when we were writing this in 2011.
Wow. So it's almost like you're projecting.
We didn't know. We just really wanted to see what could we do. You know, the famous line, be the change. And so we wanted to be the change first. We knew it would affect others. And then when we wrote these books, we didn't realize that there was all kinds of research going on around social contagion. And there's scientists in Harvard and Yale who have been studying the Framingham, Massachusetts heart study. And they found that people are transmitting emotions through networks. So we get fat together, we lose weight together, we smoke together. So someone improves their happiness by just 15%. This study showed it affect not only the concentric circle of the people in their world, their parents, their family, their coworkers, but 2 others they don't even know.
Wow.
And so when we realized that, we started to see this could be an elegant way for people to make the change within themselves, but then have a beneficial effect on others.
I love that.
Thanks.
Well, you're welcome. So you have coined this phrase called the alignment process. And so how do you change energetic patterns that cause stress by watching movies?
Okay, so here's how this works. We look at a movie and we watch what's going on with the characters, let's say Brad Pitt. And there's some of them are so obvious that you know are going to cause problems. So we act as a proxy for anybody that wants us. So people that know Reiki today, many Reiki practitioners talk about proxying other people and they can get the benefits. And so we intentionally said we want to proxy in anybody that wants this work.
And let's stop for just a minute and define proxy for our audience.
It's like being a surrogate. It's like you're standing in for someone else. And we said, well, what if we did that? Would it work? And so we energize beliefs that are more aligned with the heart, more aligned with balance, more aligned with peace, and de-energize the things that get in the way of that cause stress, that cause burnout, that cause fighting, that cause disunity. And so we came up with this process and we call it the alignment process. And the way people benefit from it is they do what we call an intention session first. And we like to tell people it's like downloading an app on your smartphone.
Okay.
It runs the software that's in these books.
Okay.
Okay. And we have about 50 podcasts also that are available on our website. And when people do that, they get this frequency, this change work on their own timing. So it's not like taking 1,000 vitamin C in your body has a physical reaction. When they go through the intention session, they'll see the statements, they'll get a feel for what we did in each one of these movies and get this opportunity to make this shift in an elegant way on their own timing. And so a lot of times, Claire, people say, I don't understand. How can you do that with movies? And so there's a quantum effect that I don't have the vocabulary for, but I can tell you that when we know when we pray for our mom in Cleveland, Ohio, mom's going to get the prayer. We just know that. That's very similar to what we're doing here. And actually, hospitals, they've done studies where they've prayed for entire floors and they heal quicker than the other floors, which is really fascinating.
It is.
And this social contagion effect is what takes us to a whole different level of understanding our interconnectivity. So being proxies, we made ourselves willing to send this kind of frequency, to send this kind of repatterning to anybody that wanted it.
Wow. And, you know, one of the things that I've heard is that energetic patterns can be passed down from generation to generation. And so is this work helping break those patterns?
Yes. Yes, and that's what we've been doing this over 12 years, and not only on ourselves, but our clients, and we've seen the profound effect that it can have. And for us, what we've learned is that peace of mind isn't some place that you just show up and now you've attained it. What we've learned is that by working on these generational patterns, we've been able to find balance in all the key areas of our life. And we see those as your physical, your emotional, your mental, your spiritual, and your energetic life. And if you can find balance in your life, then you're available to make a contribution to others. You're available for inspired action. And this is like changing the software in your DNA. And
Wow.
it works. It really does work.
So clearly, you are passionate
Very much
about
so.
what you do and the movies that you've reviewed and documented in your 2 books. How do you choose a film to be included in your work?
Well, that's a fun question for me because this is essentially our journey that we've been on. We didn't go and study somebody else's work and say, this is how people should live, and then go off and find the movie to show that. No, these were what was going on in our life.
Okay.
And so it was the awareness, and that's the first step to any kind of change. I like to say, if you're aware, you're halfway there. And so that awareness would then usually lead us to a movie, and many times we didn't know why it was the movie. So there's some of them that I laugh because I had to watch it 4 times because I couldn't get it, and that's why I laugh, is because that's a core issue for me that I couldn't see. And so essentially everything that we're writing about is our journey. This is what we recognized in this movie. This is the change work that we did that's upon it, and we serve it up to you to see if it's something that fits for you or not. And we've done 650 of these. So
wow,
we had
650 movies.
Yeah, crazy. Remember what I said? We pushed too hard.
Jeez.
That's why I was burned out the 3rd time.
And I can't believe you were blind.
Yeah. So it's not one shot. Everybody has different approaches, different facets, different generational things that are going on.
True.
And so these movies would come to us. They became our beloved teachers.
So I think it's really helpful that you guys have gone through all of this to get to this point, because it helps you really empathize with the people that you work with.
That's really interesting that you brought that up. This is the part of this journey that I didn't expect when I went on. This compassion that I started to feel for me first. And then since I've been through it, and I've been through it with these characters, you start to have a compassion for everybody's process.
Wow.
And I wasn't expecting this judgment thing to go away, because now I have a different perspective of going through this journey myself, and a different understanding about what we all are sharing and going through together. We feel the same emotions. We feel the same pain. We all want the same joy and love. And we're all in different places at different times. And so I wasn't expecting that kind of compassion to sort of blossom within me.
And through this work, how has that changed your life?
Well, I have less fear in my life, less anxiety in my life, more love, more connection, more awareness of my own stuff, which usually makes me laugh now. Where before it was like, oh God, here we go again. Now it's like, Claire's got an issue with this, and John's got this problem, and then it's usually me. It's me that's the issue.
Because it's real easy to see in the other person first,
sure
right?
Is. And I think that's a tip for anybody that wants to go on their own journey of awareness, whether you look at our books or not. Follow the reactivity. Follow who's driving you crazy in your life. You know the person. There's somebody in everybody's life. You kind of get into your inner killer, I call it. You're like, if we could just annihilate him, right? It's like, ooh, I shouldn't tell anyone that. There's your little jewel. There's the low-hanging fruit right there. Start there. If you want to find a movie, we have it in these books and on our website. Or find a practitioner and get a practitioner to help with you. It's an amazing time we're living in right now, and there's so many modalities that are helpful with this.
Yeah, and you also have a podcast, right?
Yes,
and
it's called Peace Overtures Radio. You can find it on iTunes. You can find it on Spreaker. And there's links to our website to these podcasts. And each one of them is its own module. So you listen to it, you get the 5 key things that you're going to get from this alignment movie, and some other key benefits. And Sue Ann always does a special session at the end, which I just love. Every time I hear it, I'm like, Sue Ann, this is great. I really love what she does. I wish you could have met her today.
Well, we'll have her back.
Yeah,
yes.
There you go.
Well, David, your work is fascinating.
Thank you.
You've got your 2 books, Taming Your Dragons and It's Just Commerce. You've got your podcast, and people can find your website where?
It's peaceofmindovertures.com.
Okay.
And then anything on social media, you'll find us on Instagram, you'll find us on Twitter under Peace Overtures. So if you just Google Peace Overtures, you'll find us. And if you look at the images, this cracks me up. You'll see pictures of our stuff and stuff going on in the Middle East. It always cracks me up.
Because of the peace?
Yeah, I don't know. But
Peace.
Me and Netanyahu. I'm like, hey, that's a good place to be.
You're famous.
Yeah, in my own mind. Oh, no, another movie.
Well, David, it has been such a pleasure having you here today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
A lot of fun. Appreciate it.
Okay, David, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
There's a vibe out there of power and sexuality. What is your take on it, and how has working with the movies taught you about the situation?
Yeah, this is a big topic, and we could talk a while about it. But first of all, the thing that occurs to me is I am really thrilled to see what's happening with women and the leadership that they're stepping into right now. And it encourages me so much because they're starting to work together and revealing these things that are really old patterns that it's time for them to change. And so I love seeing what this network is doing and what you're doing, because in our second book, It's Just Commerce, we suggest that the balance is going to come back to business and government again when women are working in partnership with men. But right now, it's lopsided. And so I see this as a very encouraging first big step that's happening, and I'm encouraged about it. But for men, it's time for us to deal with this stuff firsthand. And in It's Just Commerce, we talk about the movie Tootsie.
Okay.
And we wrote about Tootsie, and I went back and looked at it. Tootsie was in 1983, and there might be some of your viewers who never heard of it. It stars Dustin Hoffman, and he wants to get a role in a TV series, so he dresses up like a woman. Mm-hmm. Well, in this alignment session, it helps men start to literally step in the pumps of what women are experiencing. And the thing that fascinated me about watching this movie when we wrote this, and I've watched it recently also and did the alignment session on it, is we look at it and we go, that happened in the 50s and the 60s.
That's old. Yeah.
That's old stuff. That's not really going on. And what we're seeing today is it's very much going on. So where I am on this is it's time for us men to deal with our own stuff on this. And I would strongly encourage men to go see Tootsie and start to look at maybe some of the unconscious patterns that are going on and make that shift for themselves so they can start to have the awareness of what role they're playing in this that they weren't aware of. And then the other thing too for men is we really got to deal with our sexual energy. And in my experience, I'm 50 years old. I can't tell you that I've had any other man in my life walk me through and explain to me how to deal with my sexual energy and the intensity of it. And this is incumbent upon us to start dealing with this ourselves. And we have some movies that we've used that really made a difference for me. Mm-hmm. Movies like Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut, seeing sexuality as an object. Other movies like Unfaithful, and the story of Cole Porter is one of the great movies about the conquest of going after sex and what that does to us and how it gets out of control. And that movie's called The Lovely. And it's a heartbreaker because most of us love Cole Porter. And so we can relate to seeing the pain that he goes through because of his reactivity. And so it's time for us men to do our work while the women step into this leadership. We have to change this ancient, old generational patterns that are going on within us so that we are available to partnership with women now. And the reason why this is so strategic is because it's not about parity about women being in leadership right now. It's about solving new problems that we're facing that this planet has never solved before. Mm-hmm. And I'm convinced that the answer is women stepping in their unique power, their unique creativity and insight in partnership with men. And when that happens, we're going to see some outcomes that are going to dazzle us. I really believe it, and I believe it's going to make life easier. But if men don't want women in the boardroom because they don't like being turned on, well, then this isn't going to work. And so we got to deal with this ourselves. So that's something I'm really, I feel passionate about.
Wow, David, thank you so much for your insight on this really.
It's a big issue.
Yeah, and also giving us some tools that we can use by watching the movie Tootsie, Eyes Wide Shut, Unfaithful, and the Cole Porter movie.
And I just want to remind people that it's really important before you watch the movie, do our intention session.
Okay.
It's on our website.
Okay.
Or Google intention session piece, and it'll be number one. And do that first. Remember, it's like downloading the app. And watch any of those movies, and I guarantee you, the men will walk away with a new insight to what's going on and how they can change within themselves. And I know it will have a powerful impact. In fact, many men, when they start to see this, are going to be crushed when they realize what's really happening out there.
Thank you so much for having me, Claire.
responsibility at work?
Well, I balance my fun and responsibility. Being semi-retired, I make sure whatever I'm working at, I'm having fun doing it.
What are some of the fun things about growing a business?
Seeing new people come in and how much it means to them, that's how I help grow my business.
How do you encourage others in their life to have fun?
Oh, I'm always encouraging others in their life to have fun also. Always remind them they got to have that balance.
So what advice could you give someone that might be struggling right now as to how to keep it fun?
I think if someone is struggling right now, I would tell them, breathe deep and remember, tomorrow will come, you don't have to worry about it. Let it go.
So tell us a little bit about your business.
Well, I teach, what I do is I teach memoir writing, and I just finished writing my memoir myself, and I'm very happy. I am doing promotion on that memoir, and one of the reasons I'm happy to be with you, Claire.
So if you had a happy dance or a happy stance, what would it look like?
It would be just having a happy dance and having a good time and always smiling.
Okay, so here's the top 10 things I learned about Peace of Mind Overture and David Barnes. Number 10, burnout is becoming a major problem, not just in the United States, but all over the world. Number 9, he, like many of us, has suffered burnout, but unlike us, has suffered it 3 different times. Number 8, he discovered a way to balance his life through watching movies. Number 7, he has developed a technique called the alignment process. Number 6, energetic patterns can be passed down generation to generation. Number 5, energetic patterns can be changed just by watching movies. Number 4, he helps people realize a sustainable set point that can be new and different than ever before. Number 3, sometimes we get so caught up in what we are doing that we forget how to live. For an example, be a human being instead of being a human doing. And that affects our relationships with ourselves, with our personal relationships, and also our professional relationships. Number 2, movies can indeed be assigned as homework. And number 1, movies touch us more deeply than we ever imagined. And if we use them purposefully, magic can occur. Now watch us on WBTVN as well as Apple TV, Roku, and other internet TV carriers. And as always, remember to follow the fun. We'll see you next time.